Well, Saudi Aramco, there's the answer to your riddle, is emerging as the most profitable company in the world. The oil and gas firm beating Apple, generating $111 billion in net income last year. Joining us now, Yahoo Finance's Jared Blikre with the details. And the details are important here because it doesn't necessarily keep all that profit.
No, and the devil is in the details, and we have to ask, why are they doing this in the first place? But back to that comparison, that's pretty amazing. That just shows you, especially compared to some of the other oil majors like Exxon and Royal Dutch Shell, just how big this company is. And that's why Wall Street has been salivating over this potential. It's now a bond deal. At once it was a potential IPO deal. That's still Crown Prince Mohammed's goal for 2021, but his father, the king, put the kibosh on that last year. So how is this coming about? Well, they're basically Aramco is borrowing $70 billion or thereabout to finance this transaction with Saudi Basic Industries, SABIC, both of which are basically Saudi enterprises, and they're buying it from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. So these three entities, it's kind of a shell game going on here. But again, the prince wants to raise some cash, and so instead of doing the IPO, he gets a $70 billion. He's going to use these funds to help diversify the country away from oil and into other industries. And he also wants to build a city, a futuristic city, in the remote part of some desert there. Pretty interesting.
Jared, I'm curious, people who might want to take part in this, where are they going to use that money? Is it to build, as you said, this city in the desert? What kind of investments are they looking to acquire?
Well, this is really at Prince Mohammed's discretion, and he doesn't really have a lot of oversight except for that of his father, the king. But this guy runs the country from a day-to-day basis, so he really has broad discretion over how to use these funds. Now, that's the money that's being channeled basically to the Saudi investment fund. Aramco itself is seeking to be a public company. They want to list ideally in the United States or in London, but they face disclosure issues because they have to list not only their financials, but all kinds of risk factors. And they did issue a prospectus to issue these bonds, which lists some of the risk factors, but it's not nearly as in-depth as they might have to if they were to go public. And again, we'll wait to see if that happens in 2021. We know the king himself is against it.
All right, Jared, thank you. Brian, isn't one of the biggest risk factors MBS himself?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Jared described it perfectly. This is kind of a shell game, right? Saudi Aramco didn't need to do this bond prospectus for, capital raise. They have plenty of cash on hand, and the money that they're going to raise through this debt offering, this nearly $70 billion debt offering, is just going to go back to the kingdom anyway. They want to basically, liquefy their holdings so that they can use it to make investments into their infrastructure, for example. I think Aramco, when you talk about the general story of this company, this is a company that wants to IPO at some point in 2020. We don't know where it's going to be. We don't know what the terms of it are going to be, but that is the ultimate late stage IPO. We talk about Lyft today, but I mean, if you want to talk about a company that's fully mature, I don't think we've seen anything like this before.
I mean, and you're so right, Brian, about MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, and the baggage. I mean, Saudi Arabia as a nation already had baggage. Now it's got like a whole truckload with him. I mean, let's not forget that William Morris Endeavor, Ari Emanuel returned money to Saudi Arabia recently because of what's been going on. And so I think it's going to be a difficult sell. And again, even before MBS, it was looking like it was going to be a difficult IPO. It is so huge. I mean, just to give you an idea, we're talking about, what, $111 billion of profit. ExxonMobil, about 20 billion. Royal Dutch, number 2, at about 17 billion. So it is just massive, but how are they going to float it, Julie?
Well, I think that those big numbers are probably going to overwhelm some people's ethical qualms, if they have any, right? I mean, that's not to say that people are going to be stampeding to get in on this thing, but something of that size is going to prove too attractive for some to ignore.
But it's also the ultimate commodity play. I mean, it just goes up and down with the price of oil, right? And so, that's what you're really betting on.
When you said $111 billion in profit, as we're all now knowing, how much of that, do we know the actual figures to support? What is it, 1,000 members of the Saudi royal family? How much of this money is actually going to sustain them?
And that's what we're hoping to glean from the bond prospectus when they do file more information. That plus, we don't even know the number of, reserves that they're actually sitting on for petroleum. I mean, that seems like basic information for a company as large as Aramco. We hope to get more information as they kind of move towards going public.
Very opaque there. And the other thing I can tell you, just 2 quick stories about being in Saudi Arabia. Going in the terminal when you land in Riyadh, there's economy, business, and royal There's a third line, which I always thought was great. I never went in that line. And the other thing is, I went over there a couple years ago and went to this place called King Abdullah City, which is one of these futuristic cities that supposedly had a budget of like billions of dollars. So I already have one of these projects in the works, and I don't know if the money from this bond deal is going to that or yet another city. I mean, some of the Emirates have done a nice job of diversifying away from oil. It remains to be seen if this country can do that.
Yeah.
All right, and we haven't even talked about the fact that it was MBS who might have bought that Da Vinci painting for $500 million, which, where'd it go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.